All right, everybody, I'm still coming at you from Europe. Very sad news, by the way. I recently found out that I'm never going to achieve my life goal of going on JoJo Siwa's podcast. Remember JoJo Siwa from Dance Moms? Well, she's recently come right out and said that she's got a list of 5 people who she will never host on her podcast, and I'm on it. Take a listen.
5 people that I will not be having on JoJo Siwa now. Candace Owens. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Her and I do not fuck with each other.
Well, that's news to me. I'm deeply upset. You're probably wondering, Candace, was it really on your life goals list to be hosted by JoJo Siwa? No, but I still have some thoughts on what she has said about me, and she said a little bit more. I'll tell you them in a second. But first, guys, obviously we have to talk about all of this conservative infighting. Please do not shoot the messenger. I feel like every time I talk about the MAGA campaign and what it's maybe doing wrong, I am the messenger that gets shot. Oh, well, we've got to be honest about it because, like I said, there is some serious infighting going on, and they're terming it the Groyper Wars. Let's talk about it. That's what's coming up on Candace. So I'm overseas in Europe, periodically checking in to see what's going on in the American political world. And I was pretty shocked when I saw Groyper War trending on Twitter, literally overseas here in Europe. That's how big of a trend it was. And I was shocked by it because obviously I've discussed the fact that you have these anonymous accounts which feature a frog, like Pepe the Frog is what is featured on them. And essentially they have amassed independently tons of followers across the internet, and the movement is led by Nick Fuentes. And apparently, according to this trend on Twitter, Nick Fuentes has declared war on the MAGA campaign, and people are writing about it all over, what's actually going on. Well, I will allow you to hear what exactly Nick Fuentes said in his declaration of MAGA war. Is that what we're calling it? Take a listen.
Dare I say it? I am declaring a new Groyper war against the Trump campaign until we can figure out what the hell is going on. I'm declaring a new Groyper war. You have alienated us. You have ignored us. You don't listen to our concerns. We have been left behind. The Trump movement and the GOP have moved on without us. It serves Israel and corporations and immigrants, but it doesn't serve Native Americans. What about Native Americans? What about Americans? What about young white men? And others too. But what about us? Charlie Kirk is to the right of Trump on immigration? That's unacceptable. So I think it's time for another Groyper war. We're bigger, better, stronger than ever. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Rumble. This is a big live stream every night. We have allies. So I think it's time to up the ante a little bit. Joker 2 is premiering in October. Joker 2, 5-year anniversary. The show is back. We're opening the chest. I think it's time for Groyper War 2. And this time, we're going all out. Justice once. And we will bring the energy. It's just a question of whether they want to get on board or get out of the way. That's the question. But we will bring, the Groypers will bring the energy. Memes, edits, replies, trolls. Get with us or get the out of the way. Groyper War 2 coming soon.
Okay, so this video or this clip of a longer episode on Nick Fuentes' show sent the media into a tizzy. First and foremost, if you're not familiar with what the first Groyper War was about, essentially you had a bunch of young kids, I would probably say between the ages of 18 and 23 who were showing up on college campuses and essentially calling out people that they believed were neocons, essentially people that were rhinos pretending to care about American interests, but effectively having sold themselves out to some broader cause. Let's call it the military-industrial complex, or as one example, I distinctly recall them showing up to a Turning Point event and saying, oh, hey, Charlie Kirk, you say that you are fighting for Christianity. Well, why are you paying people like Dave Rubin, who is a gay married man, to come speak at your events? And really kind of putting people's feet to the fire on these issues in a way that was sometimes uncomfortable. But I thought, and I remember going through this with Charlie, that actually we have to be able to answer those questions. Like if we're going to be a part of a movement and we say that we are on the right, then we need to not be scared when our ideas are challenged. Now, this sort of led to a media backlash, and all of the Groypers were essentially put into a pile and termed white supremacists. And I always thought that that was inaccurate and it was wrong, because I was on those college campuses and I actually thought that some of the questions they were asking were meaningful. Like, if we do say that we are conservatives and we are Christians, why are we platforming so many gay married people? I think it's a fair question that we have to be prepared to answer. Now, there might be an answer to that. Some people may say, oh, well, you can be gay married and be a Republican, which, by the way, I think you can be gay married and be a Republican, because you're basically saying, well, I align with the Republican Party maybe on the economics. And I'm putting the social aspects, I'm ranking the social aspects lower on my scale of who I would vote for. I don't really care about what they think about gay marriage. I care more about what they're going to do for taxes and the economy. But if you're going to present yourself as a Christian, if Christianity is going to be the thing that you're, hey, we want to preserve Christianity, and I'm a Christian Republican, then it gets a little bit more complicated. Anyways, so that was, I guess, considered the first Groyper War, and now we're at the second Groyper War. But these concerns that they're bringing up, I would not dismiss these as the concerns of some fringe alt-right white supremacist group, because the reality is, and this is going to upset a lot of people, I want to be very clear, I am voting for Trump because he is the better candidate between him and Kamala Harris and the coup that was just established on the left, and my concerns about what they will do if they actually get into power. There is no doubt in my mind that Trump is the better candidate. But I cannot say that statement without also being honest about the fact that something feels a little different right now. A few weeks ago, Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt. It was very clear to me, and I think to the entire world, that he was going to win the election because he emerged as a leader in his response and in his speeches thereafter, in the way that he communicated with the crowd. It just seemed so obvious that in order to defeat the deep state, who I believe was behind this assassination attempt, that we needed to elect Trump. But things have changed in just a very short time. The energy of the MAGA campaign feels very different. Now, at first, I was owing that to the fact that there has to be some reasonable trepidation. You don't just survive an assassination attempt and just keep going. And you don't come out of that not being a fundamentally changed person. And I think, by the way, for the better, really recognizing how precious life is, maybe perhaps being further committed to Christian principles as a leader. You're going to be changed having survived an assassination attempt. But there is something else that seems to have happened where I'm just not sure who is driving the MAGA bus anymore, okay? And I want to be clear, again, that these are not, just because you're hearing these concerns from Nick Fuentes does not mean that Nick Fuentes is the only person that feels this way. I'll give you just another example. Ashley St. Clair, she's somebody that I follow on Twitter. I think she's very funny. She tweeted this: MAGA energy is very strange lately. Trump campaign needs a shakeup. I don't think anybody is accusing Ashley St. Clair of being a Groyper. In fact, she's usually at war a lot of the times with the Groypers, but she's sensing the exact same thing. I am not a Groyper. I am sensing the exact same thing. And so when I answered Ashley, when I saw this tweet, I responded to her on Twitter and I said, this moment kind of reminds me of a conversation that I had with Vivek Ramaswamy. I think Trump should have picked Vivek Ramaswamy as his VP. I felt very strongly about Vivek Ramaswamy and his general energy and his general philosophy. But he and I were discussing what it was that failed about the Ron DeSantis campaign. What was it about the Ron DeSantis campaign that, despite the fact that all of the donors lined up and all of the press lined up, and his wife was suddenly emerging as Jackie O in the way that she was dressing, and it seemed so self-evident that, of course, he could just take on Donald Trump and win. Despite all of that, the press, the money, the glamour, his campaign failed. And Vivek Ramaswamy said to me, he said, because sometimes when you're a startup, having too much money can actually hurt you. And that's actually very wise. It's a very wise perspective. It's a very wise reflection of what happened with his campaign. And it actually says a lot about what was successful in 2015 when Donald Trump was running. And the entire mainstream media apparatus was against him. They said there's no way he's going to win. And maybe deep down, Trump also thought there's no way I'm going to win. Nobody was giving him any money. No one cared what he had to say. He was getting no airtime. All of the mainstream media pundits hated him, right? Even the people that were supposed to be nice to him traditionally, like the conservative media, Fox News, who could forget the infamous, Megyn Kelly back forth that he had with her. Everyone was lying about everything that he said. They were in lockstep and agreeing that it couldn't be Trump, right? And so Trump had to get creative. And in his creativity, he decided to just commit himself to the truth. Donald Trump was just saying what was on the minds of all Americans. He was not playing politics because politics had no interest in Donald Trump. So he said exactly what it was that we wanted to hear. He called them liars. He called them fake news. The first time we saw someone that was really kind of saying, F the media. Right? Just F the media. I don't care what the media say. They're all a bunch of liars. And we're tired of going to war. And we are exhausted with the New York and LA crowd deciding what's good for the rest of America, the flyover states. And so he garnered this mass cult following of so many people who were, if we could term it anything, the forgotten men and women of America who simply just wanted someone who had the gumption to say the truth. And he had that because it was a startup. And then things shifted. And I think as we learned after his assassination attempt, there was never more money that was given to the Trump campaign. I think in the next days, in the preceding week, they raised more money than they had ever raised. But the truth is, the reality is that when you take money, what are you taking money for, right? There's kind of an implicit agreement. The people who are giving you the money have some interests that they want perhaps you to protect, some interests that they want you to share, some perspectives that they're expecting you to have if they're writing you a big check. I mean, he had, I think, one of the wealthiest people in America, the Adelson or the Adelson family. They effectively own Las Vegas. I think the wife cut him a $100 million check. And it's been understood that that check came with a little bit of nudging that, well, if you win, I kind of want you to agree to us annexing Gaza, Israel annexing the West Bank, pardon. And the press wrote about that, and it's a little blip. And maybe Trump doesn't agree with that. I'm not saying that he's done that deal or that he holds that perspective, but I am saying that it runs counter to everything that he pledged to people in 2015. I'm going to end wars. I don't want any more wars. I'm going to bring the troops home. I'm tired of them taking your tax dollars to fight endless wars overseas. He seems to be singing a different tune today. We're hearing J.D. Vance. He's talking about war with Iran. Nobody wants more war in the Middle East or anywhere else. Ukraine, Russia, we just want to place a pause on never-ending wars and the never-ending excuses for the wars and the never-ending name-calling that comes when you say, hey, why don't we try peace? Oh, are you an isolationist? Are you a pro-Putin puppet? Are you an anti-Semite? And it's so funny because when you think about the 2015 campaign, because no one would allow Trump to sit down and have a meaningful discussion with them in the mainstream media, he then did shows like Alex Jones. You guys remember this? He went on Alex Jones in 2015. Persona non grata, Alex Jones, conspiracy theorist, was hosting a presidential hopeful, and people loved that. The crowd loved that. It's like, yeah, at least someone who's willing to have a conversation with you. And he won because of that. Because he was doing things that a consultancy firm would never recommend that he does. And now it seems like there's just a ton of consultants, and those consultants are probably saying to him, don't you dare go on the Alex Jones show. He's a conspiracy theorist. Haven't you heard about what happened with his lawsuit, being bankrupted, the lies that he spread? Bad for your brand. We don't want you doing that. Oh, don't you dare talk to this person. That person is not for war with Iran. And that's going to be bad for your brand because we're now accepting money from the pro-Israel lobby and we want to keep you there. And now he's doing interviews again with Megyn Kelly and people who were the face of the Never Trump movement. Ben Shapiro wrote a long piece, I believe, in 2015 about why he would forever be Never Trump and how bad Trump would be for America. Now, I want to be clear. He has since shifted his position, and now he's hosting fundraisers for Trump. So Trump is giving time and raising money. And by the way, again, effectively, it's a good thing. I'm not saying that if you were once Never Trump, you should never be allowed into the camp. I don't believe that. I think people should be able to change their minds. But what message is that sending to the people that got him into the White House the first time, right? What message is it sending when you don't go and do those shows that you did when the mainstream media turned you off and wouldn't listen to you? It's sending a message, whether it's a reality or not, it's sending a message that you are now kowtowing, right? That you're no longer in control of what happens with your campaign, that people are telling you who to speak to and who not to speak to, that you care to actually appease the same mainstream media that wouldn't give you the time of day back in 2015. Again, maybe that I'm painting a picture of something that's not true. But if it's not true, then you need to communicate that. Because let me tell you something. If you think you're trading up, by going, oh, well, now I'm being invited into this club, you're not. You're losing that support from the people that believed in you in a way that you didn't even believe in yourself way back when. You need those people. That is your base. You can't suddenly change who your base is and think that that's going to be an effective strategy here. So I'm hopeful that by me adding my voice to this, that this message will be heard by somebody who will go, you know what? Yeah, in the last weeks, let's just let Trump be Trump. Let's let Trump talk to whoever he wants to. Let's remove all of the consultants and just allow Trump to go back to his 2015 messaging. No wars. No money spent overseas, and who cares if you get called a racist, pro-Putin, anti-Semitic, isolationist disaster? Those are my thoughts on that topic. All right, guys, I have to tell you about Native Path because finding an honest doctor who isn't following in the footsteps of Big Pharma feels impossible. I've been telling you guys this forever. I am so done with Big Pharma. And that's the reason why millions of men and women have turned to Native Path's vast selection of high-quality nutrition products. Native Path was created by a Texas doctor of physical therapy who discovered how poor nutrition was linked to many of the health issues his patients were dealing with on a daily basis. Their original collagen peptides included a unique protein that naturally declines with age and is proven to significantly increase bone strength and soothe joint pain. It minimizes wrinkles and cellulite, enhances hair follicle thickness, and even reverses nail damage, with users reporting results in as little as 2 weeks. As a partner of the show, Native Path is offering my listeners up to 45% off his bone, joint, and ligament restoring formula at nativepath.sale/Candace. The discount will be auto-applied. Native Path has thousands of 5-star reviews and over 4 million jars sold. Every order comes with 365-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk to try it out. So try it today. Listeners can visit nativepath.sale/Candace to get up to 45% off while supplies last. Again, that's nativepath.sale/Candace. All right, guys, now let's get into some stories. First up, we have JoJo Siwa. Guys, I have covered JoJo Siwa extensively. I guess I wouldn't say extensively, but a few times on the show because I was sort of watching what looked to me to be like an identity crisis. I thought I was being very kind about JoJo Siwa. I said she was remarkably talented. She was on Dance Moms. Everybody loved her. I watched her on Dance Moms. I thought she had a bubbly personality. And then she kind of went to Hollywood. And as we know, what happens when you get into Hollywood is that you just start experimenting with some things. And JoJo Siwa decided that she was a lesbian. And I am not. Well, I did, in fact, say that JoJo Siwa was not a lesbian. And the reason why I said that was because of the way that she kind of turned it into an entire identity. Like, all she does now is she speaks about how much of a lesbian she is, just how happy she is to be a lesbian every second of every day. And here's the thing. I've been around lesbians. And people that are lesbians don't feel the need to work it into every sentence all the time unless there's somebody that's really just going through an identity crisis, because what you are is not something that you need to validate every 2 minutes. Anyways, JoJo Siwa saw that messaging years ago, and she's now come out again against me to remind people that she will never have me on her podcast because of my fateful words. Take a listen to what she had to say in its entirety.
5 people that I will not be having on JoJo's You Now. Candace Owens. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Her and I do not fuck with each other. Homegirl thought that I was faking being a lesbian. What the f*** are you talking about? How do you know my sexual orientation? The thing with Candace Owens is she wasn't going after me. She was going after a whole community of people, and that's not okay.
So she cut this from her podcast and she tried it on Instagram because I guess JoJo Siwa believes everything she reads in the press and assumes that everybody hates me. And if she just wraps herself up into a bubble of a community, like, oh, she didn't just come for me, she came for the whole community, then everyone would automatically be on her side. And unfortunately for JoJo Siwa, that is not what happened. In fact, the comments from this post very much passed the vibe check. Here are just a few of them. One person wrote, "The girl used to be someone I'd let my daughter listen to, then she changed for society needs. Sad." Another person wrote, "You should also not let the person who made that hat on your podcast. I bet their name is Candace too." A third person wrote, "Candace would never want to. LOL, you are far below her IQ to debate." Dylan writes, "Who asked?" This person writes, "Made me like Candace Owens even more." Another person writes, "My name is also Candace. Am I also banned? LOL." Jennifer writes, "I'm a fan, but for sake of JoJo as a human and not a public figure, I wish she would focus on finding her own identity outside of her sexuality or her job. She's screaming from the rooftops that she's trying to find herself and her fans aren't helping and her critics are worse." This person asks, "Why does she sound like a man?" This person from her community says, "Your own community cringes." Another user, "Your parents failed you." Another person, "Most desperate human being in the world." Lastly, this user writes, "What do I have to do to get on this list?" Yeah, he wants to be definitely not allowed on your podcast either. Here's the point, because I do feel bad. These comments were so harsh. I would honestly recommend that whoever chose to post it just takes it down, because it's not nice for someone that is as young as JoJo and also someone who is so clearly going through some sort of an identity crisis to have to read these comments about herself. But if she's someone who can take that and can actually take a critique and try to spin it into something positive, maybe she could listen to what exactly it was that I was saying, which is that JoJo, and what the comments are agreeing with, you are so very clearly going for something. To be a lesbian is not a performance. You are performing what you think a lesbian is supposed to be. So you're dressing as you think a lesbian is supposed to dress. You're speaking as you believe a lesbian is supposed to speak, to really sell the fact that they're a lesbian. Like, oh, I smoke a pack a day and I kind of do these butch mannerisms. I mean, she got on stage. I'm not kidding you guys. She got on stage and she told the crowd to lick her nuts. Is that a requirement to be a lesbian? Do you have to go out and say, lick my nuts? This proves that I'm duty. I am butchy, lesbian-y, lick my nuts. It's objectively weird sentence to utter if it is not a cry for attention. Lesbians that I know, like, okay, realtor in DC, I didn't even know she was lesbian. She mentioned it casually. You want to know what she was? She was just a phenomenal realtor, very good at her job, extremely professional. Never considered that she might be a part of a community that required her to act a part of a lesbian. I think part of this, by the way, proves my point about why I think it is demonic for children to get involved in acting and in theater when they're super young. Like I say this about like the child actress curse. I just think that it pollutes their minds. Like they're not able to grow up in a way, like their brains don't function productively. Like everything kind of becomes about attention. Like you're training your brain in the wrong way. So you think that everything in your life needs to be this sort of over-the-top performance, when in reality, it's kind of okay to just be yourself. And being a lesbian is not an identity, okay? So if you're hooking up with girls, you don't need to suddenly become this thing that you've become. Now, JoJo, I want to say this. I'm very sad that you're never going to have me on your podcast, because in reality, I think that we'd have an amazing conversation. I say the exact opposite. You are always welcome on my podcast because I'm not as close-minded as you. I know you come from the community of tolerance, which is what you're selling yourself as, but you're essentially signaling to everybody that you're completely intolerant of anyone who has disagreements with you. That's why you included Candace Cameron Bure on your list, simply because she's a Christian and she doesn't believe in gay marriage. Okay, fine. So maybe exercise some of that rainbow sprinkle tolerance that you claim is what your community is all about. Your community is rejecting you for a reason. Maybe it's time to wake up. Maybe it's time to have a conversation with Candace. The invitation remains open. All right, guys, I'm going to let you in on a little wireless hack. Well, I mean, it's going to cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile want you to believe that you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. But here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you will ever need. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data that you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, plus a mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, watching the show, obviously. You can stream thousands of songs or you can watch 10 hours of video. So stop overpaying for wireless and get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Owens. Switching is very easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your phone number, so that's definitely a plus. Again, that is puretalk.com/Owens, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk. All right, guys, let's move on to a non-scandal that's become a very big scandal. It's the Olympics. Everything about this Olympics has been very scandalous, by the way. It's because it's happening in France and it's just, I don't know, it's been exceedingly fake and gay, and the opening ceremony kind of dictated that things were not going to go well. And things seem to be going from bad to worse. Now, I want to be very clear. In speaking about this topic, especially in speaking about women's gymnastics, here is a fun fact about me. My family is extremely private. I have 2 sisters, and I speak to my sisters all the time, and my sisters have never requested that I speak about something or not speak about something, except for this one topic, female gymnastics. Not a joke. My little sister is I don't know the way to describe it. She's a Simone Biles stan. She absolutely has loved gymnastics from the time that we were little tots, and she said to me, Candace, I don't care about what you talk about. Literally, say whatever you want. Just please don't say anything bad about Simone Biles. So I need to tread very carefully here. Okay? I'll be very careful discussing this subject, but there is a lot of drama happening with the female gymnastics team, the Olympic gymnastics. And I'll just kind of run you up on what's happening. It's just been a scoring disaster, so to speak. So there was at first a young woman who is Romanian, and honestly, she just got completely gypped. I don't know if we're supposed to say that term. Are you allowed to say gypsied? Gypped is the term we use. But she did. She should have not been docked on a point. They said that she stepped off of the mat. She absolutely, you can watch this video 1,000 times over. It's been slowed down. And she just, in no way did she step off of the mat. So Romania was unbelievably upset because Sabrina Manica Voinia, I hope I'm saying her last name correctly, she didn't win, and I'm telling you, the judges just outright stole it from her. Then it got even worse, okay? So what then happened was that Anna Barbosu, she is also Romanian, she scored third, and she won the bronze medal. She had one person left to go after her, and it was an American, and that American's name is Jordan Chiles. Jordan Chiles went, and the judges said, you get a 13.666, which put her into 5th place. So her trainer comes around, her coach, her name is Cecil Landy, and she's like, well, what do we have to lose? She's in 5th place. I'm just going to kind of throw a flag on the play here, to give you guys a football term, and basically ask for them, the judges, to just review and see if they maybe got something wrong here on the difficulty score. So she wanted them to challenge the difficulty score. Now, in case you're not up to date on how all of this works, how they score things, I'm just actually going to give you a little background here. In gymnastics, they score an athlete based on 2 different components, the execution score and the difficulty score. The execution score starts at 10 points, and then the judges deduct based on various things. So like I said, she stepped off the mat. Oh, you get a deduction of a point here, a deduction of a point there. Difficulty score starts at 0, and then you earn points for composition requirements, difficulty elements, blah, 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 okay? So her coach, going back to Jordan Chiles, the American coach, was like, let's just see if we can maybe kind of get a point here. The coach literally said this quotation thereafter. She said, at this point, we had nothing to lose, so I was just like, we're going to try. I honestly didn't think that it was going to happen. But then I heard her scream. I turned around and I was like, what? Yeah. So the judges, she throws down this like, I don't know, maybe we'll get lucky here. And yeah, the judges returned. They were like, yeah, no, we're actually going to take it from another Romanian girl. F the Romanians. That's kind of what the judges were just like, we just don't like Romanians. Like, so they take this girl who's like celebrating, like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I'm in third place. And then she finds out that no, actually they're giving it to this American. Jordan Childs is getting it. So boo you, step aside. You and Sabrina can go cry in the corner. Anna and Sabrina, you guys go cry in the corner. We hate Romania for no reason. So obviously people were outraged because, like I said, the backstory here is the first Romanian gets completely gypped. And now you have the second Romanian who just like gets completely gypped by some like random act of like, please review her difficulty scoring. And people then took to social media and they were really mean to Jordan Childs like this. And I'm going to tell you she's black and it's only relevant because of what happens next. They were really mean to her. Apparently some people said some hateful comments about her race. Who knows? I mean, it's the internet. So let me just say this right now. If you're offended and if you're an easily offended person and you have the internet, you should not be on the internet because the first thing they do is they just start screaming racial epithets. Doesn't matter if you're a woman, you're going to get all sorts of misogynistic language. If you're a gay person, they're going to say a whole bunch of homophobic stuff. It's just what the internet does. You know, it's just like kids on Game Boy or something, just saying terrible things to you all the time. So she was upset about that. And then people were like, no. Now we need to review this because that is crazy. We're not doing this twice to Romania. Romania, you know, small country, but they're ready to go to war now. And you know what? I'm feeling sympathetic to Romania too. So what happened was they then realized the scoring league, who then reviewed the review, realized that actually the rules are that in order to do that little flag on the play, you have to say, I want a review within 1 minute. And they actually did not meet the guidelines. Apparently, when the coach asked for the review, it was not within 1 minute. It was 1 minute and 4 seconds later. So by 4 seconds later, they then reversed the decision. Okay. So it's just a lot of emotions. I mean, it is like, could you imagine you got women, you got women crying, people don't know what's happening. But in reality, like, you know, the clock is the clock. That's like, come on. And by the way, they should have never given her the bronze medal in general. But you can imagine like what Jordan Childs is going through. You can imagine what the Romanian team is going through, but they were just like, no, now you got to give her back her bronze medal to the Romanian girl who you just took it from because 4 seconds is 4 seconds. The clocks don't lie. Okay. So then, for no reason, sisters be acting crazy, right? We all know sisters be acting crazy. And so Jordan Childs, as I mentioned, she is black. And her sister, I don't know if this is an older sister or a younger sister, decided to go on Instagram and to lament this decision. Her sister's name is Jasmine. Jasmine wrote this on her Instagram stories. She wrote, "Racism is real. It exists. It is alive and well. They have officially 5 days later stripped her of one of her medals, not because she didn't win, not because she was drugged, not because she stepped out of bounds, not because she wasn't good enough, but because the judges failed to give her difficulty and forced an inquiry to be made. 4 seconds. Her bronze was stripped over 4 seconds of time that would have never needed to happen if the judges did their job. I love you, baby sis, and I got yo back no matter what." Yeah. I hate that she did that. I hate it so much because here's the thing. Like I said, the Romanian girl very clearly, by the way, when she appealed the decision for what she didn't do, she actually was totally within bounds. She didn't cry racism, right? She didn't get to, I guess, because she's Romanian and her skin is light. Like, she wasn't like, oh my God, this is like racism against white people. She just was like, the judges suck. Like, it sucks they did this. And now Romania doesn't get to take home the bronze. Actually, she should have won the bronze. And she completely got that taken away from her. And yet you have this woman's sister, again, this isn't Jordan Childs, who's trying to spin this as if it's something that's racist. And why is it not racist? Well, parking aside the fact that this just happened to the Romanian girl, Simone Biles took home second. Simone Biles took home the silver. So if it was like about just not letting a black girl take home the bronze, they probably wouldn't have let Simone Biles take home the silver. Also, I'm pretty sure Simone Biles has like more gold medals than like anyone. I don't know. She's got to be like LeBron, Kobe status right now when it comes to gymnastics. So I really don't think this is a race thing. And it's just annoying that, you know, it's always tinged with a race conversation when it's not. This did not happen because of racism. This happened because women were scoring, and women can't do math. Okay, we can't. This is a girl math situation. The Olympics are going crazy because the women were put in charge of deductions and additions, and they're trying to score, and things are going really bad. So if we want to fix this issue, it's not about making sure the judges are the right colors or the gymnasts are the right colors. We have to make sure that the girls are not mathing. And that's all I'm going to say on that topic. Okay, I hate to interrupt again, but I have to tell you guys about American financing. I know the stress, the economic stress that so many people are going through right now, feeling like you are constantly having to put your expenses on a credit card, which obviously only increases the stress because you're trying to find a way out of the never-ending cycle of debt. Well, here's something you can do. You can call my friends at American Financing. They're helping people just like you turn things around by using the equity in their homes to pay off high-interest debt. They understand what you're going through, and they talk to people in your position every single day. American Financing is saving their borrowers an average of $854 a month, which when you total it comes to effectively a $10,000 a year raise. And if you want to get started, you may not even have to pay next month's mortgage payment if you call them today. There is no better time than right now to turn your situation around. So call 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. All right, guys, now I'm going to read some of your comments from episodes past. So these were just some comments from the Dave Smith interview. I was really happy to premiere that. He is just so wonderful. So many of you guys wanted us to have a weekly podcast. If I could get him to move to Nashville, I would have a daily show with Dave Smith. I learned so much from him. DK Creo writes, Candace times Dave Smith needs to be at least somewhat a regular thing. Can't get enough. I totally agree with you. Sarah writes, as an Iraqi who grew up witnessing all of the U.S. wars on Iraq, it is both heartbreaking and validating to hear that people now recognize that my country was destroyed for no reason. It wasn't just the people murdered, but generations whose lives are forever changed by this senseless war. I don't think it was for no reason. I think it was because it was good old-fashioned imperialism with also a tinge of destroying history. I do believe that. I believe that we are fighting people who are fundamentally communist and who want to wipe out history so they can just tell people what history was and kind of create this 1984 Orwellian perspective. Next person writes, the fact that statements like genocide is always wrong and all lives matter are in any way controversial shows just how sick our society has become. It is time to heal, and discussions like this are a great start. I totally agree, and that's why we're living in crazy lands. And I say to you guys that we're now at a time where people will say anything to fit in, and they will say anything not to be maimed and caricatured by the media, and pretending that they're comfortable watching what's happening in Gaza right now sickens me. It absolutely sickens me. We'll get into that topic probably tomorrow or the next day, but it really what it comes down to is we are living through a time of tremendous cowardice. And unfortunately, too many of those cowards are the people who should be leading our society, like men. We need strong men who are willing to stand up to being called mean names because the truth is more important. So that's all I'm going to say in conclusion. Tomorrow, you guys, we will have a very exciting interview for you and the next day because I'm actually in Romania, and I'm not covering the Olympics or the gymnasts. I'm not going to be sitting down with the gymnasts. Maybe I should, but it will be somebody else, and it's probably not that big of a surprise. I'm guessing you can imagine who. We'll see you guys then.